That's no moon. It's a puppy. Hey everybody, welcome back to Drinks and a Movie, and today we'll be talking about Rogue One, a Star Wars story. The little puppy you saw at the intro is one of the reasons why I haven't put a video out recently. That and plus the holidays, and you know what, I deserve a little time off. So here we go, let's start with a drink, because today, R.I.P. Carrie Fisher, we need to start with a drink. So the drink I'm doing is called the Death Star, and this drink is certainly going to destroy a planet. And when I say a planet, I mean your head, because this thing is a whopper. So this drink consists of 1 part Jaeger, 1 part vodka, 1 part whiskey, 1 part triple sec, 2 parts sweet and sour, and 2 parts Coke. And today I'm using Coke Zero because I have to watch my girlish figure. Not sure why that's so funny, but laugh it up. Fuzzballs. Alright, here we go. Let's do this drink. 1 part Jaeger, 1 part vodka, 1 part whiskey, 1 part triple sec. Good Lord, I do this so you guys don't have to. 2 parts Coke. We'll try to measure this out, but I'm mostly just going to pour it in. Alright, there's your Coke. And 2 parts sweet and sour. 1, 2. Give it a little stir, or if you choose to use some sort of stirring device, you can do such. I'm using a brand new camera that my beautiful wife got me. I can't quite use the microphone yet, so you just have to bear with the sound that it comes with the camera. Alright, so here is the pièce de résistance of the drink. Is a Star Wars Death Star ice cube. Look at this thing. Look at this. If you guys don't have a Death Star ice cube, then you are failing at life. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. Just put a circular cube in there. But once you get it in there, it looks like this Death Star floating into space. Here, let me dunk that in a little bit. All right, here we go. Cheers, everybody. Here's the Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Here's to Carrie Fisher. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is directed by Gareth Edwards and is written by Chris Weitz and Tony Gilroy, and stars Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso, the daughter of Galen Erso, who's played by Mads Mikkelsen, and who is forced by the Empire to create the blueprints of the Death Star. This movie is about the Rebel Alliance getting his daughter Jyn to help them get in contact with her father to get the plans for the Death Star in order to destroy it later on. It's essentially the story of the rebels getting the plans that Princess Leia puts into R2-D2 into Star Wars Episode 4: New Hope, that came out in the year of our Lord in 1977, and everybody's birth. It's the year of my birth, yeah, it starts it all off. So let me just give you a little bit of background on me. My mom saw Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, in 1977 when I was literally still in the womb, which I think makes Star Wars a part of my DNA. I love this series. I watched the subsequent movies throughout the 80s, and my mom can attest to this. I wore out the VHS tapes of this, so it is really a part of me. It made me love film like I do today. I mean, this thing is just it's instilled in me. So much so that it was actually a part of my wedding. My wife and I did our recession to the Star Wars throne room music, and it was epic. It was totally epic, if I do say so myself. So I tell you all this because Rogue One kind of disappointed me, and this is coming from a die-hard fan of the series. So let's start with what I really did like about this movie. Gareth Edwards, who directed this, got his start in special effects, and it really shows. The effects are impeccable. They're seamless. A lot of the visual effects, especially the space battles, are wonderful. And what Gareth Edwards does really well is scale. He made his film debut with a movie called Monsters, which was just okay, but he did represent scale really well when his characters encountered these monsters that inhabited the United States. Same thing goes with his next movie, Godzilla, which I didn't particularly care for, but he did, once again, do scale really well. Excuse me. Cheers. So in this he does scale and environment beautifully. You feel how big the Death Star is. You feel how big the Star Destroyers are. He creates this movie in the Star Wars universe, but and you get that, but you also see places you've never seen before, and that to me was very impressive. The movie also takes a lot of chances with its narrative, meaning that it takes chances to try to separate itself from the rest of the Star Wars movies. It's very much a war movie in space. It has amazing space battles. It has a really good land battle, and it does separate itself, and I do appreciate that. The problem is it does try to do a few too many nods and references and fan service to the old original trilogy that kind of took me out of it and took me away from the movie. And I wish they didn't quite do so many. There was occasion where you go, okay, I recognize those characters, I recognize those characters, and it was just a little bit too much sometimes. But I do appreciate this attempt to inhabit the Star Wars world, which they did very well, and distinguish themselves from the other movies. So coming out of this movie, I told my wife and her friend that a bad ending can make a great movie kind of a moderate film, and a really great ending can make a moderate film really great. And I think this was the latter. The last 40 minutes to a half hour of this movie are wonderful. They're astounding, and they are literally worth the price of admission. The last bits were exciting. The effects were amazing. Just the whole feel of it was just really great, and there's a small section at the end, which I won't spoil, that almost made me stand up and cheer in the theater. I mean, this ending was great, and it really did elevate this movie quite a bit for me. Okay, so now let's get into what I didn't like about the movie. So in the original trilogy, we had characters like we had characters that we loved, like Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and actors that were fun to watch and charismatic and had depth. And even in last year's Force Awakens, we had Rey and Finn and Poe, and once again actors in there that really carried it and really made you want to know what happens to these characters next. This movie didn't have that much of it. You had K2SO, which was the droid you see in the trailer, who was fun and funny and had some nice little quippy moments, and then you had Donnie Yen's character and Wen Jiang's character, who were this duo that protected the Jedi Temple, that were really great and interesting, that probably had a good backstory, but you never really saw it. They never really gave depth to any of their characters. I mean, these two were really cool, but I honestly can't remember either one of their names, and that is a fault of the movie. So this film commits the cardinal sin of movie making, which is tell, not show. So what I mean by this is that in the movie, they claim that Jyn Erso and her father have this really strong bond and connection, but they only tell you this in expositional dialogue. instead of showing, like at the beginning or in flashbacks, nice little moments of, say, her father teaching her something, or just having a nice little emotional moment with her father. You don't see any of that. You just get thrown right into the action. Another example of it is Jin, once again, supposed to have this long history with Forrest Whitaker's character, and you're only told all of this. You never see any of it. You're never shown it. You need to be shown it in movies, because otherwise you don't get an emotional connection to any of these characters. You're just told this by like a third party, or like a he said she said type thing, and it doesn't hold as much weight. They should have cut some kind of action scene or something to give somebody, anybody, say their main character, some backstory, some depth, but they didn't, and it just felt empty. Alright, and another thing, without spoiling the movie, there's a CGI character that shows up that is not great. It looks terrible. It looks like I'm watching a cutscene from a PlayStation 4 video game. The technology just isn't there yet, and I understand why they did it, and I get that, I really do, but they just needed to do it in a more creative way. They should have done it in reflection or in shadow or something like that, and also given him less screen time. Instead, they decided to not only give him more screen time, but do close-ups of his face, and it took me totally out of the movie, and it was just really terrible, and something that they just should have done a lot more creatively. So the last thing I'm going to say is this movie just relies so much on its effects and battle sequences that it just forgets to give anything else any time. This movie is truly a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, but signifying nothing. And that is for my Shakespeare fans out there. Look, technically it's a wonderful movie and has some amazing sequences in it, but it just doesn't have any heart to it. It doesn't have any just depth that the original trilogy had, or even Force Awakens from last year. It doesn't have that, and I wish it did, and it's very disappointing to me. Alright, so to sum this all up, I give this movie a 3 out of 5 drinks. I think it's worth checking out for at least the last 40 minutes to a half an hour. It is definitely worth the price of admission. I didn't hate it. I just wish they would have, thought, well, we do need a little bit more than fancy special effects to pull this movie through. And you do. You just can't forget about that stuff. So once again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Have a drink on me. And, yeah, listen, let me know what you thought of Rogue One. There's a lot of conflicting opinions. Some people loved it, some people hate it, some people are right in the middle like me. I didn't hate it, but I just wish they had more to it. Once again, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. You made an iconic role, wonderful, and you'll never die because of those films. So thank you there. Cheers, everybody.